Hi, I'm Erica Jackson. I got the idea for ArtsKool, which is a 30-minute sitcom pilot, because I attended the California Institute of Arts, aka CalArts, immediately after attending Columbia. And these were two very different campuses. Columbia, Ivy League, very traditional, very East Coast, very staid, sort of a serious environment. And CalArts, I don't think a day went by that I didn't see someone randomly naked, and certainly not a day went by when I wasn't in the middle of a conversation with someone realizing they were completely stoned and I was trying to have a normal conversation. So I felt sort of like a misfit at both campuses. I was a Californian and a little more loosey-goosey than people at Columbia, and kind of the opposite at CalArts, being around people that were so expressive and so creative, sort of highlighted the sort of conservative parts of my personality. So I wondered what it would be like for someone who was sort of always a high achiever, always very maybe not politically conservative, but had very specific ideas of having a 5-year plan and how they were going to live their life, and just always did everything by the book. What they would feel like if they were suddenly dropped into that art school environment. And then the other inspiration for the series was looking at my niece one day. I'm biracial. She's quarter black, but she has blonde hair and blue eyes and just looks as white as can be. As a friend who's also biracial says about her nephew, he looks like he doesn't even know any black people. So I wondered, what's the future going to be like for her? Is she going to look, maybe her looks will change, she'll look more black, and maybe society will be kinder to her generation. Maybe she won't. Maybe she won't know any black people when she grows up. I just wondered, how is she going to be treated? How is she going to identify? What's society going to look like in 20 years when she's grown up? So I based the main character, Christina, on her and this idea of having someone who was very anal retentive, type A, always did everything right. So when we meet Christina, she's getting ready for work. She's getting her hair flat ironed. She has a perfect bob, perfect edges, and everything is precise. The way she gets dressed, the way she, the creases in her clothes. So you see a lot about her personality in the very first scene. She walks to work down Broadway, leaves her doorman building, walks down Broadway to work. Like, she just has the city on a string. She knows what she's doing. She's got it all together. She goes to work at the New York Times, and seems to be having a fantastic day. She's a very serious reporter. She looks like she's getting things done, and we just sort of see that in a montage. And she gets called into her supervisor's office, and she thinks she's going to get a feature or a promotion or something of that sort, and instead she gets fired. And that's never happened to her before. She's never lost anything in her life. So she goes home with a box of her possessions from work, and a very different walk home than the walk to work that morning. And when she gets home, she walks in on her husband with her best friend. So not only does she lose her job and her husband and her best friend, perhaps worst of all, she loses a rent-controlled Classic 6 with park views. And where does she go from here? Well, she takes her box, leaves, gets on the subway with the box, which is now sort of starting to get bent and beat up and dirty. We see her on the subway with the box. Then next thing you know, she's at JFK. She decides for once in her life she's going to do something crazy. She asks for a one-way ticket to Bali. She's just going to break out. Then she realizes she left her passport at the apartment, so that's not going to work out for her. So she dialed it back a little bit, decides to get a one-way ticket to San Francisco. In San Francisco, she should back up at the airport. She has to get that box through security and stuff it in there, then stuff it into the overhead. So this box is just getting beat up, much like Christina herself throughout the day. And she gets to San Francisco, this beaten up box under her arm. Knocks on a door, and a sort of plump biracial woman answers. We don't really know who's this woman. And Christina looks at her. They sort of stare at each other for a moment, and then Christina says, "Mommy," and just is very vulnerable, and all the control gone, and she cries, and the woman takes her into her arms. And that's Karen, her mother, who is sort of this hippy-dippy art therapist. Then they go inside. Karen's consoling Christina. Suddenly a motorcycle is revving outside, so Christina goes to scream outside, hey, we're trying to have a touching moment in here. And then that's Christina's Grammy, Katie, who is just this septuagenarian with manic panic hair that's a different color every week. She's raised her family. She's done what she wanted. She was a good wife and a good mom. Now she does whatever she wants, and she just doesn't take life too seriously. She's just past all that. That's kind of her motto is, this too shall pass. I'm going to enjoy it while I'm here. And so she's really tight with Christina, and she comes in to console Christina. A week passes, and Christina has become this out-of-control clutterfish, just sitting on the carpet or sitting on the couch in an Afghan with just ice cream containers and Kleenex all over the floor around her. Karen, who presents herself as a hippie, but truly is very animal retentive, comes out and can't stand the sight of this and tries to get Christina to leave. Christina is not interested. She just lives on that couch right now in the Afghan, and she just curls back into the Afghan. A week later, Karen again tries to nudge her and say, you should really get outside. Nope. Christina has no motivation. So a week after that, Karen comes and says, look, I've made an appointment for you at the Institute. Well, this seems terrible. That's very ominous. So it turns out the Institute is actually the San Francisco Institute of Fine Arts, where Karen is an art therapist and art teacher, and even Grammy works there at the switchboard. So the English and creative writing teacher has suddenly passed away, and they need a replacement. So Karen has arranged an interview for Christina. Christina goes to get ready, much like the first scene, not really feeling it, but sort of fake it till you make it. She's going to present the original, very well coiffed, put together version of herself, and then she goes to the interview. Of course, she's there early, true to her personality, and while she's on campus in the quad, looks across the quad and sees sort of a handsome stranger. This is Davis Peters, who's going to be her love interest for the first season, and he's a visiting artist in the photography department. And as they're looking at each other across the courtyard, sort of making eyes at each other, and he gives his, grin that always gets the girl, a naked student walks between them wearing only Birkenstocks and a backpack. And that gives you an idea of what this campus is going to be like. And the just look of horror on Christina's face is also just shows how she doesn't fit in with this environment. So they're both embarrassed, they scuttle apart, and then Christina goes to her interview. It's with Bill Foyle, who is sort of the opposite of Christina. He totally belongs in this crazy, wacky art world. His office is just this, sort of a dark cave with things that look like they're going to spill off the shelves at him, and there's just a lot of clutter and art and color, and you can see that Christina's pretty overwhelmed. But they hit it off, and he offers her the job. So Christina comes to work, goes to get ready. Again, a repeat of the original scene. It's how we end the episode. And she's getting ready. The same sort of black creased pants, but she decides to borrow one of Karen's sort of peasant, flowy peasant tops. So she's kind of loosening up a little bit, and she goes to get the flat iron to flat iron her hair, and she decides, I'm just gonna, wear my curly hair. So you gotta wonder, is she going to find a way to fit in and relax and be in this more loosey-goosey environment, or is she gonna revert back to the very staid, perfect, well put together Christina? And so that's going to be her journey in this series, and she's going to make some friends and allies and try and figure out, does she want to stay here? Does she want to make it work? Does she want to try to go back to New York? Where is she going to fit in? Where's her life going to go from this point forward? She's about 28, 29 years old, so what she decides now is going to have a great effect on the rest of her life. And that is ArtsKool in a nutshell. It's basically Christina and her wacky family, and how she copes with a crazy environment with students who are the opposite of her, very lax and lazy, often late, perpetually stoned. It's the kind of school where people are allowed to bring dogs to class. And so in the middle of class, maybe a dog is licking your foot. So Christina has to realize she's not in Kansas anymore. She's not even in New York anymore. So anything that she thought was wacky about New York, she is on a whole new level of wackiness. And she has to learn to cope with that. Thank you.